Alright, I'm gonna put on some royalty-free stuff. Royalty-free, where is my royalty-free radio? Arcade music. There it is. It's silent. Cool. I'll just put this on then. Okay, so in secret today, I decided that we're going to be doing a class. So let's see here. Let me get started real quick. Just gotta put these away in their respective folders real fast. But some of what I've been doing right here is what we're going to be doing today. You see how I do these figures? Right, they're not as pushed as I probably could push them, but I'm kind of like concentrating on a line of action that sort of builds shapes a little bit, if you notice. So I'm kind of turning these into sort of cartoon characters, but more like just kind of playing with the guts and the mechanics of the motion without trying to copy it. And just like sort of playing with it, making it my own bendy poses that are my own. Let me get this clear, actually. Get rid of that. And let's get this. So these are two poses I did before class. This is how I want people drawing tonight, kind of. But I'll do a little demo to demonstrate what I'm going to be trying to push people in the direction of this evening. But like these are some quick kind of dirty examples of what I was doing. Earlier today I did kind of a bunch of figure invention warm-ups that were using the technique that I'm talking about. These are some warm-up, really scratchy warm-ups. These ones right here, which I drew on top of later, use the technique that I'm talking about. Of course, I did that clean stuff later. This is what I did initially. So if you notice, I'm using kind of like box forms and stuff, but I'm using like these kind of like longest axis lines. Like there's no anatomical detail in that really kind of right angled leg right there. It's just like these really long axis shapes, basically. Some of them are kind of 2D, some of them are 3D. But like I look for opportunity to kind of add in 3D shapes and variation. These are invented figures, mind you, so I'm just like playing with a mannequin for these. But this is how I'm gonna. This is how I'm gonna be approaching figure drawing tonight. Like using the mechanics of some of this stuff. Forget that guy. And you can see what I sort of did that with these. Like, so what I want people looking for in these. I want you looking like, for one thing, for like the longest axis in the pose, which means like. What's like the longest point throughout the whole pose, like that? That's the longest axis right there. That's not necessarily a line of action, but it's the long, and this is like the longest axis of this sort of X section. You can even break it down like the longest axis of this leg here, and so on. But you first look for that. You look for that. You don't necessarily draw it, but you look for that, and you kind of play off of it. What I did here is I took the bodybuilder pose that we just done. Here, let me maybe put it on screen. And I just kind of like played with it and like played with the character and personality, kind of like feel up sort of the flowy gesture of it, like thinking about his muscles and bones compressing and stuff, and sort of thinking about them like kind of pillowy shapes or whatever. Like the point of doing this is to really kind of like feel the motion out. So you can be really kind of loose and dirty with it if you want, but you really kind of want to just like feel out the shape. You don't have necessarily even draw over the line as much as I did. You can be a lot more decisive than I was. And I probably will get more decisive this evening the more of this that I do. But I'm just trying to keep it simple. Like, I'm not trying to get too caught up in anatomical detail. So I am coming back rusty to figure drawing and stuff. And I'm trying to do this because I'm gearing up for a bunch of 2D animation stuff I'm going to be doing. So I want to be, like, thinking in terms of, like, sort of a collective simplicity. Where I'm not kind of, like, overcomplicating my thought process with too much information. I'm just thinking about, like, the big shit. So you could do stuff like this, like find the center axis of the torso, right there. I use like a simple sphere for the head. It's like a cartoon head, kind of. You'd even put a center line on it, whatever, if you wanted to go full cartoon. But it doesn't have to be super detailed, because this is like a 3-minute sketch and stuff. And I did a similar thing with this basketball kid. Like, it's not copied exactly. And, like, there's some shortcomings I made that I probably can push more. Like, I can push this head way more. And it looks closer to the actual pose a little bit. But I try to keep things simple. Simple and direct, and make decisions even if they aren't the best. I'm trying to keep things feeling kind of fun and satisfying for me to draw. Just keep them in terms of like simple shapes, thinking about some 3D forms. So in some cases, starting with a 2D shape and then turning it into a 3D form. Like, the easiest way to do that would be adding a little kind of top of a cylinder and maybe like a center line down here, like little sphere points there for like the cylinder of the leg, right there. Then you got this sphere of a basketball right here. Maybe wrap a line over it. Maybe make it into an actual basketball using the lines of the basketball a little bit. And then you got this hand that's kind of wrapping over here, but I'm not going to get caught up into hand detail. I'm just going to do like a simple shape, kind of simple C curve kind of wrapping over the ball. And I see an opportunity here for, let's see, I'll billow out his shirt a little bit right there. And then do something like this. That's a little bit closer to the reference. Like making this kind of simplified arm thing right there.
Spacedad, may I ask a question?
Yes.
What material would you recommend drawing with tonight? A pen, a pencil, things like that?
If you have well, the cheaper the material, the better. Honestly, if you're doing traditional.
Oh, okay.
Because you want maybe something that's not going to really fight you a lot, and you just want something that you got, preferably a pen actually, because then you can commit to the line without erasing it. Because this is a very animator-oriented exercise that we're doing tonight.
Thank you.
As you can see, I'm putting like a little bit of cartooning. I'm trying to breathe life into this drawing. Like, it doesn't have to be anatomically accurate and stuff. This is just like a stylized, fun drawing here. I can hear myself. Please push. I'm pretty sure I put on push to talk here, but please keep yourself muted when you're not talking. If you want to be in here, I'm going to server mute you. I'm going to be very quick about this, so please mind the audio etiquette when you're in the classroom chat. Okay. Thank you. So there we go. So I want people thinking about things in terms of big shapes, big simple shapes. You can add in cubes and spheres and other things too. But I want people to like try to concentrate and make like an expressive graphical statement out of these poses, kind of like this. And I may actually encourage... I think I actually... Excuse me, I'm hearing myself again. Server mute there. So I may actually encourage this evening, like, people to do what I just did here, which is like after we do some poses, we go back through and we just look at them together and try to see how we can push them. Like you can take these even further than what I've done and like turn them more into something more cartoon character-y. Or like if you want to do like a full-on animator exercise, which we might get into doing some of that this evening. Maybe I'll do a little quick kind of sketch example of what you can do. Maybe like for like a pose like this, like imagine this character that we've drawn going into another pose. Like you don't have to be as complex with your second drawing of the pose. You can be way more simple with it. But maybe just kind of imagine where the pose is going next or something like. And this is like something I just threw together real quick. Just getting ready to throw a pass or something, maybe. But the main thing I want people to concentrate on tonight is like those big simple shape and gestural drawings where you're just trying to like almost kind of carve out something in big kind of like chunky expressive cartoony shapes, like feeling out the weight of the action, feeling out the dynamics of the pose. And I think it would be a good idea to do what we just did also. I think we'll make that part of the session tonight, where we do the poses and then we do another pass on them, exaggerating and pushing them. So get ready. What time is it? It's 5:45. We're going to take a quick little startup right now of doing some 3-minute poses to kind of warm up. We'll start with this dude here. We'll do that for, let's see here, 15 minutes. Okay, Google, set timer 15 minutes.
15 minutes, starting now.
There we go. So we'll do this. And then what we'll do is, if we're like, I'll maybe do another demo of like showing how to push these maybe, but first things first, I'm going to try to get a simple expressive thing. Another trick I'm going to use this evening is these drawings I've done previously. I'm going to ghost them really low opacity in the background here so I can kind of like remind myself of what I'm trying to accomplish this evening. So I'll do that sometimes during the evening, or I can kind of like build on what I'm trying to do and remind myself of how I'm trying to draw. It's easy to kind of let your attention wander sometimes and go on autopilot, but if I have that reference back there of my own drawings that I did, just kind of ghosted back there, I can remember. Or just kind of vibe with it. So this is I'm trying to really emphasize pushing it, because I want to see how far I can push these on my first pass. To really kind of feel them out and stuff. Yeah, quiet, don't tell anyone. We've resumed teaching actual classes. How about that, folks? I just got really tired and I kind of like lost focus of how I teach and stuff. Lost confidence in like what my pattern was for teaching, but then I had a little time to rest on R&R and think and draw for myself for a little while. And I realized, oh, I can do, that's how I was doing it. And I can do it this way. So, we're going to be teaching again. These are going to be real classes again, after all. After I said I was going to... Sorry about, like, there's been the kind of a whiplash on that lately. I know. But we're back, baby.
Hooray!
Hooray! Also, the good little boys and girls who are in the Discord voice chat, feel free to chime in with observations or input or questions, or even you can even be my chat aids and read some of the questions from chat for me. That's really nice. I like the gesture of that. The one that I just did, and I like the gesture of this next pose. So I'll take a crack at that now. I'll lower the opacity on this actually, so I can have that back there, reminding me to push myself on this next one. Let's see, this one's easy to get lost in if I look too much for the anatomy and stuff, because I'm not worrying about that right now. I'm worrying about like the gesture, the pose, like the feeling of and in it. Shrink that a bit. If I start getting caught up in anatomy, it's going to stiffen it up. Like, anatomy can come later, after I have a gesture established, and gesture will often sometimes break the anatomy, especially in animation. You will get so many poses that like completely break what a figure can do. The lead animator from Skullgirls, I saw her talking about exactly that in her GDC lecture that I watched again the other day. Which I recommend. It should be easy to find. It's like the animation of Skullgirls on the GDC YouTube section. Let's see here. I'm getting kind of lazy on this one. Let's see what I can do. This one's kind of crude. So maybe take a black pencil and see what I can do with picking out some better shapes.
Spacedad.
Yeah.
When doing these gestures, it's very important to first establish the line of action, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Or you don't have to necessarily establish it all at once. You can do it in parts. Glenn Vilppu does that. So,
Oh, okay. Thank you.
yeah, his drawing manual actually has you start. Here, maybe I'll do a Glenn Vilppu example here. So here, I'll do Glenn Vilppu. Glenn Vilppu demo real quick. So you start with a head like this. Wrap a line around that for the direction of the head. And you do like a little line out the bottom for like an indication of the neck. Then you could probably like sort of feel out the line of action for the pose if you like, but you don't have to. I'm gonna do it real quick just because I want to save time on this. But then you hang on a second. I think I have to look at the manual actually. Drawing manual. I have to remember how he does the torso. I haven't looked at it in a while. Ah, here we go, I found it. Alright, so you just find that you just like look for some gesture lines to kind of feel out the torso. Sort of like this. And then once you felt out the torso, then you move down to the legs, like this. Just kind of feel out these really flowy lines. Just like that. And then you can go back up and do the arms. So I did, in this case, use like a line of action. I could probably even push it a little more here. There actually is more. I can probably push back here on too. So you get this nice sweep here through the whole body. But he does it in phases where he starts with the head. He starts with the head, kind of establishes the head sphere. Gets the neck down, and he gets kind of like this kind of curvy parallel lines, and maybe a center line for the torso, just some kind of flowy lines to kind of feel it out. And gets the legs in, and the gesture of the arms like that. So that's how Glenn Philpott starts his gesture drawing. So like he didn't necessarily specifically draw out the line of action, but there's a sense of a line of action through it, or there should be, in how he approaches them in his drawing manual. Some pretty crunchy poses, but there's a lot of room for invention here, so. Be bold with these, because like if you think of these in terms of like I'm not making realistic figures here, I'm making expressive cartoon characters, then it gives you a lot more freedom to kind of play with it more. So exaggeration is definitely one thing that I want people to kind of key into a little bit tonight, in addition to the looking for those big expressive lines and stuff. Let's see here, what can I do now? What I can do is, after having done that really expressive gestures, I can go back through, find some simpler lines to kind of go back over. Whoops. Like maybe some straights against curves, like here. Some indications of the fingers and the hand, and the palm there. Indications of the pelvis. More of an indication of the torso. Find some of the gesture a little bit more, or push some of it a little bit more. So guess what, folks? I do have homework this evening. The homework this evening is I want you to take some of the poses that we've done. Well, I want you to keep practicing figures throughout the week. But I want you to take some of the poses we've done tonight, or some of the poses you will do over the course of the next week, and I want you to make some cartoon characters out of them using the dynamic poses, or your exaggerated, distorted version of the dynamic poses. That is my homework, and I will in fact critique it. We're bringing back critiques, folks. The reason why we're bringing back critiques is because I finally realized there is something that I can actually critique, and that is looking for that expressive stuff that I'm talking about, that I'm doing right here. So to start this evening, we will be doing critiques after a couple of sessions of these figure drawings. Start posting them in the Discord classroom chat, and I will take a look at them and maybe do some drawovers and stuff. Maybe I'll do some drawovers now. Like, let's put my money where my mouth is, and I'll do a quick drawover of somebody's pose, maybe showing them how they can push things more. So yeah, during the break, post your images and some of your warm-up images in chat. And I can do some drawovers showing how to push the gesture, the expressiveness of the figure, make him more like an expressive cartoon character. This session will be on YouTube also, to answer that person's question. And again, if you are on Discord voice and if you are not going to hot mic, you're welcome to join the Discord chat and the Discord voice. I think 3 minutes is a good time to establish the gesture and give you enough time to do a draw over. Okay, Google, stop. Stop. That one's pretty successful. This one, not. It's kind of crummy. This one's Vilpoo demo. That one's pretty successful, I'd say. This one has a few things that kind of get wonky, but it turned out alright. Okay, so I better pause this. Okay. Okay, Google, set timer 5 minutes.
5 minutes, and that's starting now.
Okay, Google, raise volume by 20%. Okay, Google, how much time left on timer?
4 minutes and 54 seconds remaining.
Cool. Alright, so I'm going to take a look at Discord chat. See if there's anyone who's posted anything yet. Just one person so far. So we're not going to worry too much about that. At least until later. Oh, here's someone. Someone said, I find it hard to ignore the anatomy in favor of exaggerating. Well, you don't necessarily ignore it. You integrate it into the gesture a little bit, even if it's like. Well, here, let me show you an example. One artist in particular, Mike Matisse, is someone who I'm going to try to key into. But here, I'll post a Google image search of him in chat so you can see some examples in the Discord chat. But take a good look at his stuff, and you can see that he even has like an anatomy book on like how to like find the flow of the anatomy and stuff. But yeah, like the foundation of what the way he draws is kind of similar to what I'm doing tonight, although mine's kind of a crude warm-up version of his stuff. But what I'm doing right now is not dissimilar to like the kind of stuff you get from like animation classes an awful lot. So let's see here. I mean, these are good, what you just did. I'll just do like a little demo, I think, of these, drawing over these and stuff. So these are good, although like there is some issues going on like on the arms and the head here, for example. The one on the left is more successful, I think. You do have a pretty good grasp of anatomy, I'd say. It's hard for you, and you're right, it is kind of hard for you to turn off your brain and ignore them and ignore the anatomy. Or not ignore it, but like play off of it. But I mean, like one way to do that is if you look at some of the Mike Battisti stuff, you can start like thinking of things in terms of like the longest gesture. Hang on. The longest gesture that you can pull out of them. I can see, like, for example, like there's an opportunity here with the torso. One sec. There's an opportunity here to like really kind of push the torso more than what you saw. So you would like really emphasize like one side and compress the other one even more. So they start turning into pliable, workable masses. Like you can insert anatomy into them later, but you want to like think about things in terms of like what's like a stronger gestural statement I can make with this pose that reads like that has a lot more impact in its read than if I just like try to mimic the anatomy straight up. Because you can insert the anatomy information in later, and you can have it play off the gesture. And real masters of like this kind of approach are able to like insert the anatomy in like really clever shorthand ways and stuff that I'm not capable of, that I wish I could demo better on. But you'd have to kind of like learn to trust yourself a bit and give yourself the breathing room to kind of like concentrate on just like force and action. The overall feel, like we're thinking about like the whole thrust of the body here and the whole compression on this side here. So we get something that's like a much stronger statement than what you had. Okay, Google, stop. So I'm just gonna play with this a little bit more. Like, it's not gonna be anatomically accurate by any means, and it shouldn't be, but it gives you something to play with to kind of push things. The idea being is that if you're kind of developing an approach to your animating, you're not going to necessarily be anatomically accurate, but you're going to be looking for those big actions that push everything. Then you can do like microsurgery later to, you can either like look for broad strokes to kind of simplify the anatomy with, if you have a good intuitive understanding of anatomy, or you go in like with microsurgery later, like almost kind of like an animation cleanup phase where you would go back over this and then use this kind of loose gestural thing as the foundation for like how you push and distort the details of the anatomy later. But like to me, like this, like a pose like this would work work really well for making an animation. Basically, like I can kind of like feel the motion of this and feel where it might go to next, or something. I can kind of feel like this character is lurching. This character is maybe slightly lurching forward into another step pose that way. Like they're kind of like, they're sort of like stepping forward a bit, but they're like their upper body's doing this kind of ballet thing where they're kind of going slack back on the slack back and like doing this kind of expressive dance thing back up over there. That's what I was kind of feeling out of this. So likewise, this guy on the left here, I think you were way more successful in this because like this is reads as a much stronger pose that's driving the anatomy here. Like you're not pushing things as much as like me, but you still successfully pulled off like a fairly strong statement, I'd say, that is managing to kind of contain the pose. So I'm not going to go into great detail on pushing this one, but this one works really pretty good for me as what would be like a key pose for like a more kind of realistic approach for animating or something than the kind of like really pushed look that I had on the right here. But anyway, let's get to another set here. What is it? 6:09. Okay, we'll do a set for 20 minutes. Okay, Google set timer for 20 minutes, and we'll do the 3-minute poses thing. We'll start with this lady on screen right here. Okay, Google set timer 20 minutes.
20 minutes, and that's starting now.
There we go. The cool thing about this technique is like if you start vibing with it, like you can just really just have fun, like just intuitively feeling your way around the pose and stuff, just looking for like the overall thrust and the force of the pose. You look for cool shapes and cool kind of like feeling to it and so on. Like this lady right here, she's got this kind of like hook sort of thing where her leg is sort of terminating around here, and we got the bent wire of the body going up to the torso right here to the head that's kind of like turned up a little bit that way, pointing like that way in 3D. And then she got this cool arm that's coming down here, like planting, like feeling the weight, planting her palm down there. So I'm going to really emphasize that. I'm going to darken that in. I'm going to do this little curve right here for the end point of the foot, right there, because I think that's fun. And then she's got that other leg right here that I'm just going to do like, just going to go for it like right in here. It's got that bottom of her foot that's kind of acting like kind of a scoop on the front, sort of scraping the ground almost, how it feels to me. Not actually scraping it physically up there, but that's like a word that's kind of popping in my head when I'm looking at that. So I'm looking to kind of pull something exaggerated out of it. You get this from observation and like just kind of playing with the forces of what you're seeing in front of you. She's got those spread arms out here. Her shoulder's about there, I want to say. She's got that center line of the body right there, coming up to her neck. Her arm, and I'm going to make it like kind of curved like that way, but then like straight on this side right here. I'm using big, thick lines on purpose because I'm not trying to make a pretty drawing here. I'm trying to get into the guts, the intuitive guts of what makes up this drawing, this pose. It's something that I would design for animation or start with as a gesture for animation. Ain't that fun? I would say is a very successful gesture study of a pose right there. Alright, so maybe I should put that one away. So I have more room to draw the next one. That's the other thing. To get good animation, you kind of have to be having fun. Like, I mean, you are going to be tackling like tough problems when you're like getting into like really nitty-gritty animation, where you have to work out like really tough technical things, and where you're going to have to like come up with like problem solving, where you really have to key in and pay attention to your draftsmanship and what you're doing and so on. But you also like need to vibe with what you're doing, like an actor. You need to kind of pull some energy and some excitement out of what you're doing, and have that come across in what you're animating. If the artist doesn't if the artist is not having fun making the art, then that shows up in the end product more often than not. And vice versa. So I think I kind of went on autopilot right here. Let's see how I can push this some more. I'm going to erase this upper body real quick. I sort of talked through my last one, which definitely helps me with my thought process a bit, so maybe I'll talk through a bit of this. So let's see here. I got the kind of arch here. She's looking over that way. She's got one arm that's coming up here to kind of anticipate like she's going to take some action or something. Her legs aren't just like haphazardly placed, so I'm going to kind of be more mindful about what they're doing. She's got one leg that's kind of down here that's like sort of anticipating things. Her pelvis is tilted a bit. This leg is acting as a support leg right here. Her back leg is like staying loose. This leg is loose. This leg is tense. Like this leg is the leg that's going to push her off the ground. This leg is the leg she's going to fall back on or stay flexible with when she needs to make a move. So I'll kind of reinforce what I'm seeing here with a little razzle dazzle on her ponytail.
The most important thing when drawing these is to capture the movement of the pose, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
The movement and the feeling of the pose. These are drawings that you do for like your initial gesture pass when you're animating. And you want a good sense of energy in them when you do them. That doesn't mean like be sloppy with your proportions. That doesn't mean be sloppy with your understanding of how the figure works. But it does mean you can cut loose and not have to be so uptight about making a perfect, pretty drawing. Like, you start thinking in those terms, and the drawing dies. The pose dies. Because there's going to be time later for you to kind of like work out the anatomy and things like that, and like work out the three-dimensionality of it a little bit more solid. This is your initial pose. This is your initial read on the gesture, seeing how far you can push it. And if you're like trying to like do a character design thing where you're trying to really either exaggerate the action or exaggerate the character and turn them into like some kind of cartoon character pose or something, then you're really going to want to play with pushing it. So let's see if there's anything else I can push in this since we got another minute. I'll move those back there. So one thing I'm seeing is like there's an emphasis on her upper shoulder here, kind of coming up. There's her body's kind of like pushing up over that way because she's sort of twisting her body back for the throw. And it's coming up behind her, and like her hand is curving up, almost like, it looks like it's kind of curving almost over her head, but not quite. Her head is sort of tilted in following the direction of her body, but not quite. I'm going to just put it there, though. She's really got kind of her chest thrust out a bit. This leg is kind of pushed in, like, turning towards the foreground a bit. This leg is going away from us, so I'll add some circles over it to indicate that a bit. So you got, this hip is kind of raised a little bit, and this like tilt right there. So if we could see the front of her torso, it'd be her torso would probably be twisting like this for like a counter pose effect, because she's got one arm that's raised up right there, with her bent arm throwing the softball. So this looks really messy, but the action still like kind of like the understanding of the action is kind of there for me. Like, so this would be something that I would do to like kind of understand a pose when I'm trying to animate. So it's not about the pretty drawing for these kinds of drawings. It's about trying to understand them or understand the action, or create the action out of what you're seeing. There's not really anything too dynamic about this one, but I can probably find some things in here. So I start with this kind of curve for the head and the neck right here. Follow the flatness of the ground a little bit. So there is energy happening here. You have to kind of dig for it. It helps if you've done this kind of exercise yourself before in real life too, so I'm kind of thinking about that right now. Sort of balancing her leg here, supporting her leg by her leg muscles. She's got this kind of line of action of her arms going right here through her torso. Let's see how I can mass in that torso a bit. You can also even use like almost a straight line right back there for her back of her ponytail, kind of. It's a pretty beefy girl. So maybe I'll emphasize some of the torso a bit. And some of the arm. Let's see what I can do lowering opacity on it. Oops. Let's get some basic shapes in there to kind of play off the gesture a little bit. So I'm just trying to do things quickly and with lots of energy right now. My goal for this evening is to think like an animator for my figure drawing, because I am going to be animating.
Is there a certain way you should think about figure drawing if you want to be an animator?
Well, you're looking at it. There's different approaches to animation, of course. Like, this is what I'm doing right now is very much a very Western approach. But that's not necessarily true. Like, you'll see a lot of, especially these days, you'll see a lot of Japanese animators who really push and exaggerate things. And there is a long tradition of that, actually, in Japanese animation. But a lot of Japanese animation tends to be very kind of like, very kind of like ornamental, almost. Like it looks like, so a lot of times like they look more like fashion illustrations than expressive character drawings. It really depends though. I mean, there's a lot of exceptions to that. I think there's a lot of stuff like in like the Murata One Punch Man, for example, that's fantastic. A fantastic marriage of exaggeration and figure drawing. You might take a look at some of that stuff, actually. Be good for inspiration right now. Yeah, look at Mike Battisi's Force, Glenn Keane's animation, especially his animation on any of his rough animation. You'll see stuff. It's kind of noodly like this that I'm doing right now.
This pose is quite difficult.
Yeah. But again, like, don't worry too much about the anatomy. Worry about what's happening in the forces and stuff. Like, I'm thinking about what's happening with that back leg being balanced. I'm trying to sympathize with what the model's doing and stuff. Like, I'm less concerned with getting the anatomy accurate than I am with something that kind of feels like they're balancing. So maybe I'll go through here and do some stuff in here to kind of pick out some of what I was going through for a little bit better. So here's a principle of gesture drawing right here. This kind of cascading effect that I'm doing right here. It's like this sort of kind of staircase sort of thing right here. You can use that all over the place on figures. And this kind of like approach, like sort of like it plays into kind of like the organic forms of like legs and arms especially, but it can also play into torso and other things. Of like stuff that's kind of leaning and supporting and so on, or that has kind of like the curvy forms of muscle. I better move on from this one. So I'm trying to keep like high energy when I'm doing these tonight. A few times you might see me kind of like wiping out, basically. Like, what I'm doing right now is not too dissimilar from like if I was on a skateboard or a surfboard. I'm trying to like pull off maneuvers or whatever. So sometimes I'm going to lose balance and I'm going to wipe out. It's okay, you just get back on your board and do it again. And this is an art workout. Like, if we were surfing or if we were skateboarding, we'd be just like doing a bunch of like, we'd be like on a half pipe or something right now. We'd be just like going back and forth up and down the half pipe trying to do some of the same tricks or freestyle a little bit. Get our coordination and get our balance and feel stuff out, try things and push things, and occasionally fall off our boards. Yeah, don't tell anyone, folks. I've started teaching again. So time will tell whether I'm able to kind of teach animation class. I kind of want to do that after I get some more animation under my belt, though. And I'm doing that actually for the game dev project that we're working on. So yeah, it's okay to be like really kind of hyper exaggerated and stuff and just like cut loose and let loose on the page, sort of like what I'm doing. Another thing is like I'm drawing with my arm, so this is like the strength of my shoulder. This is like a workout for my drawing arm also. Like I'll be able to have much finer manual dexterity to get the control I need from like how much I'm kind of loosening up here. Like if you aren't working up at least a little bit of a sweat during a gesture drawing session, you're probably doing something wrong. And spoilers, I've been probably doing something wrong for the last several weeks since I started, like, my gesture drawing session started turning into going on autopilot when I should be doing this. I'd kind of lost touch with what I'm supposed to be doing, what I know I'm supposed to be doing when I'm prepping to animate and stuff. I only got like 2 minutes to do this one, so I'll try to make a quick, strong statement on this one.
Can I ask your thoughts on drawing from the elbow instead from the shoulder?
Not recommended. You're probably gonna get a little bit. I didn't have enough time to really go into that one, sadly. Okay, Google, stop. Okay, Google, set timer 5 minutes.
Done. 5 minutes added to your timer.
Alright, yeah, so after you vibe and like do stuff like this, then you can go back through and start thinking about things in terms of shapes, if you want. Start wrapping over forms, defining things a little better, picking out places of where you can design anatomy. So these aren't inherently going to be like proportionate figures and stuff. Like the point is to kind of like vibe with the exaggerate. Oh, I gotta pause this guy. Okay. So let's take a look at class real quick. Class chat real quick. And maybe I'll find some poses to do demos on. It's helpful for me because what's that?
Just a quick question. What app are you using for the pose?
Oh, it's an app called Gesture Drawing 3, I think.
Wait,
And it's on QBrush.
QBrush?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I think this is a pretty darn successful pose. This one I talked through and I thought through when I did it. So like having a plan for what you're doing and me talking through it on the decisions I made helped me get a better result on that one. The ones where I was like kind of going on autopilot are the less successful ones. Like this one was a little no, there is some okay stuff in there, but Like this one got a little confused, maybe overcomplicated, I think. But there's some okay stuff in there. Yeah, I think this is what I would say the most successful pose of the evening for me, because there is a good sense of weight right here that I picked out from observation, and overall it kind of works. Like this is something that I can go back in and like sort of pick out stuff from. Like I know the shoulders here, so I'm gonna like add a little bit of that. For example, here. So it's little indications of like where the shoulder is. Torso centerline curve and the width of the torso. And so on. Plane of the foot back there or whatever. Yeah, I mean you can go back through and kind of like do second passes to sort of figure stuff out. And you can evolve these into cartoon characters and stuff too. Ooh, actually, I think this demo. Yeah, I was fresh off doing this demo. That's another reason why the next pose was successful. So, lesson learned. I should be doing more demos because that will help put me in the right frame of mind for pushing my stuff. So let's see here. Let me see if there's any more I can do stuff with here. Toy Jaw has some pretty neat stuff. I think there's some things I can show in there. The Celestial Universe, I actually think I might do a demo of your stuff because it looks like you're getting very chicken scratchy in a way that's not really helping you as much. There is some stuff in there, but let's see. So let's take a look at this. Okay, Google, stop. So the first thing that I'll say is like I'm not really like I'm doing a lot of like kind of drawing over my own lines again and again, which is not necessarily the best habit to be in for drawing. Like you want to think in terms of simpler lines, but a lot of times, but for animators like me, and for like Glenn Keane-ish animators and stuff, it's okay to kind of go over the same line if you're feeling something out, because when in an animation, like stuff moves a lot, so you're often kind of searching for the exaggeration of the line. So there are certain approaches to a healthy kind of feeling out the line and stuff, instead of like what you don't want is like kind of like this, which is sort of what I'm seeing what's going on here with these kind of unsure lines and stuff. I want you to take more plunges and making more confident strokes. Like for example, like let me pull up my version of this pose real quick, so maybe I can show what I'm talking about a little bit. Yeah. So even though like I used a really big thick line, for example, on this one, that kind of helps put me in the right frame of mind for this. But like I'm pulling like long strokes here. Like I may be sketching over it and stuff. This is like a dirty, really feeling gestural drawing and stuff. And there's multiple lines and shit, but it's like flowy and feeling out the form more than what you have here. And you want to take more of a plunge in your confidence when you're doing these. Like you want to kind of like think about these things in terms of like the simplest shapes and stuff. I would even say like for you, for this evening, maybe just slow down and try to like do like really sort of simple long lines, kind of like that. I might actually do something like this for the next sesh, just to show off this. We've done this before. This was a Alex Wu approach to figure drawing from his gesture drawing class on Schoolism. But yeah, these like kind of simple cuneiforms that kind of recenter you if you're kind of getting lost on like getting overly chicken scratchy. Like this is a way that can kind of help you sort of start pulling longer strokes and start thinking of things in terms of like simple gestural design. And let's see here, maybe for these other ones I'd really want like the photo reference perhaps. Maybe I can do a demo on this other page here. What time is it? Yeah, I'll do like a quick draw over of one of these. Actually, I'm going to start the timer now. So if you want, you can either watch my demo or you can start drawing the poses that are on screen. So I'll start this now here. Let's see here. Okay, Google, set timer for 21 minutes.
Sure, 21 minutes. Starting now.
Alright. So I'm going to continue on the demo. So you can watch my demo or you can start drawing from the poses on the left here. So let's see. Got this big old page here. Kind of weird planking looking thing. Yeah, I'm going to do a little demo on this guy right here. So again, like pulling those kind of simple lines will sort of help you. So I'm going to try to maybe break this down to sort of a simple kind of pillow body, like that. Another thing you can do is if you have done a chicken scratchy drawing, you can take another pen with another color or something and go over it again and try to pull like these simple shapes out of it. So I'm just going to make up what the leg is doing here. I'm kind of inventing a little bit here. Actually, not like that. Let's do like this. Sort of put a circle at the bottom right there because it's kind of a neat little alternative to making a perspective grid. Let's see here, I'll get rid of that, lower opacity on this. And let's try maybe using these broad shapes to maybe make a cartoon character out of this guy. Back from this, getting a little too close in there. A little kind of goblin in a loincloth character. Of course, those thighs aren't worked out the best, but that's okay. This is just a rough, loose, expressive character drawing. Yeah. So the kind of stuff I want people doing this next week. Like, your homework assignment is to do more of the gesture drawing and do stuff like this, where you kind of pull characters out of your own characters and stuff, your own character drawings out of this stuff. Yeah. Let's put that away. And let's get back to the on-screen stuff. So yeah, I'm sort of liking this new formula of I do demo. I do a session and then I like look for a demo or two that I can draw over, and then go back to the figure session. I think that's a good format to use in the future. Alright, let's take a good look at this lady here. So I'm sort of starting with the head here. Maybe I want to turn that a little bit. So the first thing I'm seeing here, I'm going to try to get this in like the last 2 seconds. Maybe I should use the long line approach in that case. Put a little bit there for the bottom of the foot, just kind of give her something to stand on. Let's look for those longest lines. Maybe bend it at the knee a little bit. Look for kind of an abstract shape that sort of implies a little bit more of what's happening there, like a little bit more of the foot. There. That's enough of that.
Thank you very much for the demo on my works.
Hey, you're welcome. This pose is a little ambiguous, but let's see what we can do with exaggerating it. It's also a really crunchy pose. Crunchy poses are fine, because you're not looking for the detail on these. So first things first that I can see, we want kind of like this whipping sort of circular sort of feeling here of pulling out the sword. She's holding scabbard back there. Torso twist that way. Set her eye line down low like there. I'm gonna maybe like do some exaggeration for fun here and maybe make her legs like really small and cartoony, just for fun. Actually, I'm going to bring that one down a little bit more. Let's play with the pose some more here. I'm going to shrink that so I can get more space to draw with. Alright, so let's see here. Just kind of intuitively playing with the pose in little bits and pieces here. Sort of feeling out the rhythms of it. There are some things that I feel like I keep losing touch with and then getting back. Like, for example, the overall tilt of the pose this way. You kind of need to be mindful of the hips right here. because the hips are kind of tilted up, or they feel like they're tilting up that way a little bit. So let's move that to the side so I can get Mr. Macho here. This guy's not really doing much, but he's a big weighty bodybuilder, so there is fun to be had in his physique. He's a professional bodybuilder. This may look like a simple pose, but they train to make these very kind of simple but strong statement poses. So it presents his wonderful bulgy muscles really nicely. It makes him look very sculpture-like. I've made a common mistake where what often happens in digital drawing where you zoom in too far and then you don't see part of the drawing and you lose sense of the proportion. It's down, but that's okay. Just erase that a little bit. Pull back so I can see the whole thing. So one of the things I've seen to exaggerate is the thrust of his hips. Those could be pushed even more that way. And also his like deltoids are and arms are kind of coming sort of towards us a little bit more than would be like right at his sides. Like he's kind of bringing those forward, like bringing his elbows forward more so he can kind of flex his pecs.
Is drawing muscular men like the one we see often very difficult because of how many muscles they have?
It depends. I mean, if you're just doing like the big shapes, it's actually in some cases a little easier because like there's like you can kind of feel out the huge masses and simplify them. But if you're trying to get into anatomical detail, anytime you're dealing with like a lot of like interlocking shapes of anatomy and anatomical knowledge, that inherently gets difficult. But if you're just dealing with big, broad shapes, I would say that muscle men can be in some cases easier to draw. Because like you can see what parts of the body are making the biggest statement a little easier than you can on like a skinny person in some cases.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Muscle men, especially steroided out muscle men, are like exaggerated versions of human physique to begin with. So like real life stuff that looks like it's exaggerated is gold to draw. So the most immediate and obvious line of action here is that side of that body right there. That's stretching out. You can even use that to kind of like plot the head. And she looks like some kind of she looks like some kind of abstract Olympic symbol, Olympic game symbol of some kind. Kind of feel out about where I think the leg is. Remember to have fun with these, by the way. That's the other thing. Like, don't get uptight when you're doing these. Sometimes it might take like a few false starts to kind of get in the groove. But you remember, you're not doing these to make like perfect, amazing drawings. You're doing this to get an artwork out. You're doing this to kind of feel out stuff. Like I don't expect somebody who goes to the skate park to immediately pull off amazing tricks and stuff. Like you're at my skate park right now, and you're just you're doing like little pokes at trying to do tricks right now. You're getting lots and lots of cardio in from skating all over the place, trying to pull off little tricks on the ramps, maybe pull some grinding or an attempt at grinding. I'm not looking for like incredible drawings out of this. You'll get there over time from doing like stuff like this a lot. You'll start like making sometimes amazing drawings from these sessions, especially like if you do them like a really intense like paid figure drawing class or something by a really awesome instructor. You might get really awesome drawings out of that over time, but this is an art workout that we're doing right now. Alright. Emphasis on workout, because this should be a very physical act. Like, I want people to be working up a little bit of a sweat drawing from their shoulder. And since we're drawing very physical characters and figures here, working up a little bit of the physical exertion doing these will help you sympathize with the poses. Where's my music at? There it is. So I did get kind of lost in that, so let's kind of reel this one back in. See what I can pull out of this. So one of the things I can pull out of it is like there's some foreshortening stuff going on with that arm in the foreground here. So this is like a straight up cartoon character I'm doing right now, where I'm just trying to like mess with a few aspects of it to kind of understand a little bit of what's happening on screen. Let's exaggerate those feet a bit. Also, one thing I'm doing is I'm checking that thumbnail on the upper right, since I'm drawing so huge. I can see the entire pose at a glance on the upper right here. So that kind of is helping me get another pair of eyes on what I'm doing, even when I'm zoomed in. Though I don't recommend necessarily doing that all the time. There's another version of doing that I actually might try a little bit later, which involves making a separate window with the same. Let's see here actually.
Yeah, I have a question. How small would you recommend to work? Like right now I'm working on an iPad and I cannot like do whole movement with my shoulder. Okay, sometimes I have to rely on my wrist and then my elbow to pull out a specific line.
You want to cultivate using your arm as much as possible. Occasionally you might wind up using a little bit of your wrist and your hand and stuff, but that can be dangerous. It's okay to occasionally use it, but I would try to avoid doing it if you can help it.
Right, next time I will draw on paper then.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're drawing digitally, even if you're drawing small, you can still. You need to have full freedom of movement for your arm, so that you, even when you're drawing on a really small drawing tablet area, you can still like use the full range of your arm to pull off strokes and whatever. As if you don't. Oh, this guy. What the fuck? What the fuck is this? Why did I use this guy? What is this? This looks like a CG model. How did this get in my folder? Get rid of that. That must have been yoinked by accident when I meant to yoink something else. Alright. On that note, I'm going to shake my arm out. Push this thing away from me so I have enough range of movement to move around. And let me just double check to make sure that there's not anything fucky happening on... Okay, so what I've done that you can't see right now is I have a separate window open up where you can see, where I can see the entire drawing of what I'm drawing right now. Almost as if like I was like, if I had as if I was using my Cintiq as a as like a non-display drawing tablet. That's a trick that I actually learned from a professional illustrator, animation director guy that I know, that I've been meaning to make more use of, because it's just another way to kind of get another pair of eyes from a different angle on your drawing. The way you do it is in Clip Studio, you just go to Window, Canvas, New Window, and then you can have another like point of view on your drawing at a different zoom than whatever you're currently working on. So that's what I'm doing right now. Like, even though I'm zoomed in, I've got the other image on another screen, and I'm able to see the whole big picture of what I'm drawing. And that's what I did for this drawing. Okay, Google, stop. Okay, Google, set timer for 5 minutes.
Okay, 5 minutes. Starting now.
Just pause it on her. So I'll take a look at Classroom. Okay, so post them if you got them, folks.
I will arrange all the image in just one so I can post it.
Someone said I'm literally sweating. Yeah. Probably because of the heat, too. But I mean, like, yeah, you should be getting a physical workout. Make sure that you are not using your elbow or your wrist to draw, and you should have a light touch when you are drawing. Like, you want to be using materials that don't require you to press down very hard. Let's see. Let's do a little progression comparison here. So let's see. I did a bunch of those earlier today. Okay, so I started to kind of ramp things up here. That was a really successful drawing, I'd say. There's some good stuff going on there. Still kind of pushing and playing with things. Then I didn't have enough time to really do much with that. Pretty good demo. Yeah, quick gestural cartoon character. These are fun. See me trying to push them. That one's pretty neat. I'm not a fan of the angle of the legs. They look a little bit 2D or stretchy in ways that I don't want, but this one at least makes a strong statement. This one's pretty neat, although the arm up here gets a little odd. But this one I was just like playing with it. And yeah. So I think there is a line of progression for what's going on here tonight for me. So I'm going to be interested in seeing how things turn out towards the end of the evening. What time is it right now? 7:02. Well, we're flying through this right now. We've got hour and a half left of class, so that means 3 more sessions of this stuff. I'm going to take a look at some other some other people's drawings have been posted in chat and see if there's any opportunity for me to do draw over demos. Let's see here. I'm going to pick this one right here because I think that this one has some good stuff going on in it, but I feel like that the artist is being a little bit timid with it. So I want to kind of open your third eye a little bit to not being afraid to like just go crazy with this. Because when you're animating, you're really going to be pushing shapes and stuff. You're really going to be like trying to like, you're not going to be precious with your drawings. You're going to be really trying to push stuff. A few things I can see that are going on here. There's some weird struggle with proportions here and there and so on, but like this guy right here, this is just like a regular dude. This does not look like a bodybuilder. Well, I mean like the roided out bodybuilder. And like this one, for example, it could be a much stronger statement here on the body here. This is actually more timid than what was up there, I would say. This guy right here, you can push this way more. I want that like feeling of acceleration and momentum coming off this guy. Like, gonna use this as an opportunity to play with some stuff that I was thinking about during the pose that I was doing. So this guy, he's not just like setting off to run. Like his arm is intuitively kind of like pushing through, tearing through some of the air at the start of his run, where he's like lunging forward and down, and like he's getting ready for like he's like pushing that exhilaration, that burst of adrenaline through his body as he's like ripping off the starting point here. You can really feel like all that energy building up in his calf muscle here and his buttocks, pushing his huge heavy leg back down there that way. His other arm is kind of like, okay Google, stop. The arm is just like, his other arm is kind of like a cooling pipe on like a on like a piece of machinery almost for the force that's going through his body, where it's all this force is like ripping up and centering down around his leg and stuff. And something's got to kind of dissipate some of that force somewhere. So where it's getting dissipated is up through that arm. Oops. What is that? Okay. Just think about things in terms of like this really kind of like the powers and the elemental forces and movement that are rippling through his body. Like you wouldn't even necessarily draw this. This would be something that you do to kind of feel this out. Let's really vibe with the pose. And let's take a look at this girl up over here. She's really jumping for joy. Hip tilt, body scrunch, big old stretch right here. She's off the ground. She's lifted herself off the ground. She's weightless because she's jumped up in excitement, like the force carrying her body up off the ground. Get like this wildly exaggerated sort of thing here. Yeah, take a look at that. Like, this is really fun to do this kind of stuff when you're working out like how the forces of the forces that are rippling through figures or characters or action and stuff. Like, this is the guts of what's going to drive your animation, basically. Like, thinking in these terms. Then you let this like drive the more like kind of orderly, structured drawing that you're going to be doing. Like, this is your roadmap for like pushing and exaggerating and things, and having a good sense of like momentum or weight or posture or attitude to the pose. Let's make sure I save a backup of this real quick. Okay. So I'm going to do one more on this dude here. Yeah, let's do a quick one here because I actually want to get back to the other poses. So I don't think I'm going to maybe get the best result out of doing this dude. I just want to play with him a little bit before I get back into the other ones. And this one, I didn't have enough of a roadmap with it, but I was able to play with his torso a little bit to kind of make his proportions kind of bodybuilder-ish a little bit more. So yeah, I'll move away from this now and get back to figure drawing with the rest of you. So let's see what we got. Oh, that lady still paused. Jesus Christ. Alright. Okay, Google, set timer for 20 minutes.
20 minutes, and that's starting now.
Goody goody. Let's go. Just got this soccer dude here. Or footballer. And this is really, really crazily dynamic. So I'm just going to think in terms of like that crazy dynamic energy that's going on there. This big old curve happening up along his body and up his arm. He looks like he could burst through a wall to me. With that amount of energy that's rippling up through him from the pose that I'm seeing in the photo there. So I'm going to try to kind of key into some of what I'm seeing and push it and play with it. Like, this guy might not be a sports dude in what I'm going to draw him as if I wanted to use him as a basis for a character or something. This might be a dude who's like running from a huge ass monster. He's racing against time to come and rescue someone, or he's an action dude who's getting ready to like run to go pilot his mech suit or some shit. So a few things I can see that I can probably push more. It's like we can see more of the top of his rib cage, and like the torso's kind of bent towards us a bit, so maybe a lower opacity on this. I'll try to maybe sort of key into some of that stuff that I'm seeing there. So I'll make a kind of a ice cream sandwich rounded edge sort of thing here. His torso a bit. I think it's maybe turning a little bit too much to the side here compared to what he's doing, but I'm going to keep it and roll with it. So maybe tilt his head this way a bit more. Pull his arm out more. Probably got to change the proportion of the legs too. Or I can just concentrate on the torso here. At the very least, I'll get like an indication of his legs, probably at roughly the proportion that I kind of want. So if I return to this, I'd have something to work with a little bit. His arm is foreshortened back there, but I do like how it turned out, so I'm just going to keep that there. That's good. So if I had more time, I'd do more with the feet. So maybe let's plant that there. This is a really stylish pose. Very elegant. So maybe I'll see about using some fewer lines for this, but we'll see. So his torso is going away from us a bit. And the hips are at a bit of an angle there. So maybe try to indicate that with as few lines as possible, relatively speaking. There we go. I got kind of like a cuneiform start to this. Shrink that down actually. Lower opacity, make a new layer. Play with it some more with a black pen. Playing with like establishing some side planes, maybe more of a kind of a tube for the arm, tube cylinder for the arm a bit. Kind of some simplified shapes in there for what's happening with the arm anatomy, the deltoid kind of getting bunched up there. Gesture for the hand. Just enough of the head so I can hopefully kind of imply the direction the head is turned a little bit of the head in the ear. Kind of big deltoid shape there. So I'm not going to really get anatomical accuracy out of this, but I'm playing with some of the elements of anatomy that I know about, that I'm seeing a little bit of in this. And again, I run out of time before I can really get to the feet or the legs. Oh well. This one actually doesn't have feet or legs in it. Nope, I'm not going to start like that. I don't want to do that. This is how I want to start. I want to start like this. With a big curve for the whole body. Then do it straight for the shoulders. And let's see here. Straight for the hips. And now I can push this curve some more, actually. So lower opacity on this, let's see if I can play with this some more. I don't like that, actually. I need to think more in terms of gesture right now. I'm starting to get tightened up a bit. Now would be a good time for me to bring up some of my old, more successful gesture drawings, actually. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up some of the gesture drawings that I liked, that I thought were successful this evening. I actually like that. That would be good. But I'm going to bring some up on screen for me. I'm going to lower opacity on them in the background so I can like kind of recenter myself a little bit about what I want to focus on. There we go. It's a nice mix. Let's lower opacity really low on them. So they're just kind of there. And I can kind of like remember, oh, that's how I'm supposed to be pushing stuff. I shouldn't be getting caught up in XYZ details. These are just kind of back there to remind me of what I'm trying to do. 3, 2, 1, here we go. Alright. So now I get tried out on this. And then when I'm feeling it, I'll turn off those back there, or I'll just make another layer and fill it in with white. Save me the trouble of going back through and turning them off. Turn that one off at least. Actually, I have time to turn these off, and now time to kind of concentrate on pushing this. So I'm going to feel this, like, that leg needs to be pushed up even more, I think. And again, I'm able to see the big picture of everything I'm drawing right now on a separate window. So even when I'm zoomed in, to kind of work at this scale, I can still get like those sweeping arm movements that I'm drawing. I can still look at another screen and see the whole picture of what I'm drawing, even when I'm zoomed in. Just lower opacity on that. Let's try to maybe make a character out of this. But making a character out of this, so I'm exaggerating the proportions, changing the proportions and stuff. Now that I look at it, I see that she's like not exactly like perfectly straightening out her arm. It's actually kind of bent a bit because she's flexing, because she's pulling her foot back with that arm. I'm going to pause it here on this pose actually, so I can think about some of this stuff a little bit more. Erase this a bit actually. But if you look in the pose up there, like she's kind of flexing her bicep a bit. You can see like some of the muscle on her forearm flexing a bit too. This arm is straight out, but also gravity is acting against it. really push that up. I think that her head should be forward more, actually. It's more like that. Let's get rid of this. Big old sweep like that. Knee bent a bit, kind of supporting her thigh. Start supporting her weight through her thigh and her calf there. So it's okay to get messy when you're pushing a pose like this. I'm going to move on to the next one now. Okay, Google, how much time left on timer?
You've got 4 minutes and 41 seconds remaining.
Awesome. This might be our last pose on this set for a 5-minute break. So I think I will actually pause on this pose and do what I did on the last one. So I think what we'll probably do is we'll probably start moving to 5s for the next set, so we have enough time to play with pushing the poses and like trying to get more out of them. Cool is if you do like a really dirty pose like what I just did on the last one, you will find that it's a lot easier for you to capture gesture in fewer strokes on other poses you'll do. The reason for that is because you've kind of struggled. So your ability to read that stuff that you're kind of struggling with in the initial read improves a little bit. So let's see here. I'm going to maybe think of this in terms of motion. Add some motion lines right there for her leg. That gives me something to kind of play with. Just got that kind of expressive sweep to the arm there. The torso is twisting. Just got her hand up to guard her face. Tilt of her head there. Legs supporting her weight. Let's see, what can I do about getting some shapes in this using the gesture as a guideline? Just some simple shapes. I may put some cubes in there, I may stick with volumetric spheres and cylinders. We'll see. I'm just kind of playing with adding in shapes here, playing with the initial gesture to pick out some 3D shapes or some 2D shapes here and there. We'll go back to the last one here. I'll pause on this one, and this will be the one that we finish out this set with before our 5-minute break. So how's everyone doing in chat, by the way? I'm gonna maybe get to another demo for the next one. So get ready to post your poses in chat so I can draw over them. So last day of September today, I believe. It's the last chance to get 20 to 30% off a new subscription on Twitch, of which I will get like the normal cut as if there hadn't been a discount. I and other Twitch channels you subscribe to with that discount, they still get the same amount of money from support from subscribers as if it was a full price sub. So first time subscribers, if you want to support the channel and make it okay Google, stop. If you want to support the channel, you can get a 20 to 30% discount off on your first sub before midnight tonight, I think. Unless it's already ended now. I don't know if it's ended now, because I don't know what time zone Twitch clocks go by. Yeah. Twitch subs will help support the channel. Help keep these classes going and stuff. But I'm going to do them regardless of how much support I get or not. Like, I'm doing this for a good art workout. Okay, Google, stop. Okay, Google, set timer for 5 minutes. Okay, Google, set timer for 5 minutes.
5 minutes, and we're starting now.
So I don't think the foot is as successful. I kind of placed it a little weirdly. There we go. This one I could go back through and pick out some better shapes from, but I was trying to exaggerate it. And sometimes it takes a little bit of scribbling before you figure out how you're going to cartoon something. Yeah, post them if we got them. I'll do another demo at the start of the next set. Post them in the classroom chat. Toyjaw, you did not get server muted. You might need to leave and rejoin the chat room. Yeah, I better put the word out. I'm back, baby. I just needed to figure out a class format that would work for me, that would keep my energy up and stuff, and I think this one would work great. A combination of doing like the draw over demos and like really intense kind of pushed expressive motion study gesture drawing, which will over time will develop into more structured stuff too. Like if you can see the Mike Matisse stuff, like that's kind of more what's going to happen when I start getting more of these under my belt. It's like, it's kind of like with surfing or skateboarding. The more of it you do, the better aim you get, or the better dexterity you get at being able to pull off stuff.
I really respect what you're doing, man. Like, I feel like you're helping a lot of people.
Yeah, thank you.
Out of your own time. I really respect it. I had a question. I don't know if you. I kind of struggle with gestures when it's when it's like sitting or lying down or like somewhere where like I'm comfortable where the shape where the the balance is just on 1 foot or 2 feet, but because like in terms of like the big gesture, I feel like I can just think of it as like one flowing thing through the body.
Yeah, there's lots of strategies for making that happen.
But like where I get confused is like if it's a sitting pose or a lying pose, I feel like a lot of the time the gesture gets like broken up, between different sections of the body. I mean, is that me not finding the gesture, or is that kind of inevitable?
You're talking about like the piecemeal sort of thing that happens when you work on one section of the body and you kind of lose the flow a bit. I mean, that does happen. A good way to get around that is then you just draw over the whole pose again with like kind of a sweeping drawing. Like you're not making these to make precious drawings. You can scribble over your drawing if something isn't working. That means like if things aren't pushed, like you can take another line color or something, or lower opacity or whatever, and scribble over the whole thing to kind of find something that unifies it if something's not working. So if you are, that is a way to kind of defeat that sort of thing. Another thing you can do is like when you add a bit to the body, you don't just like draw it in you don't just draw it like almost like you're kind of making Frankenstein's parts to piece together. You kind of like go back up through the body or whatever, the rest of the figure or the gesture line, and then you make that part an extension of the gesture. You can kind of see me doing some of that actually on some of these poses that we've done. Anyway,
I find that usually, like, for me, that I try to incorporate like the different limbs and stuff into the main gesture, but like when it's sitting or lying, when I try to make it, especially sitting, like I feel like when I try to continue the gesture into the other limbs, it kind of looks broken or like they're not sitting, Like someone's on a chair.
Takes practice, but yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna get back to the. Okay, Google, stop. On screen right now, I just wanted to share some stuff. This is like some super rough and dirty stuff. Like none of this is really particularly well organized. This is like from a jam session that I did Tuesday, I think, of like with the concept artists on the game project we're working on. Like a lot of these are like we were trying to like test out whether the protagonist's hair would look better red or black, like what would be a better iconic read or whatever. And then there's like this right here, like this was by Zip, amazing drawings by Zip Vika, right here, for exploring the protagonist. And I did another draw over right here where I did a take on like the head that's a little bit more in tune with the character I have in mind. This is a human form of the character from the game that we're working on. This is his inhuman form right here. And we're still developing it, and I'm going to be trying to get a working model sheet done tomorrow, like progress on a working model sheet and a sprite sheet for him tomorrow for the prototype. Yeah, this is like jamming with like different influences, ideas. We're trying to come up with some kind of a visual language for what we're doing. Like this little mock-up using this, it's all a Beksinski painting here with like a punchy, bright-colored character against like a really somber, abstract, detailed background. Not really detailed, but like bleak and surreal background, and then like enemies that are really kind of shadowy with points of highlights and stuff. Yeah. Game's going to be interesting. There's a lot of stuff in here that would take much longer explanation to explain. But yeah, I'm looking forward to developing more of this tomorrow. So let's get back to the class sesh. What is it? What time is it? 7:38. I will skip the demo actually for this one. Maybe do one more before the end. But let's get back into doing the gesture drawing. So, okay, Google, set timer for 22 minutes. Okay, Google, set timer for 22 minutes.
22 minutes. Starting now.
There we go. Skip over that one, actually. There we go. Alright, so this guy... I think I want to zoom in more for these, actually. So this guy... There's a lot going on here. Very tangled meshwork of body parts kind of layering over each other. But if you're not too worried about getting caught up into detail and stuff, you can just play with the forces of it. Let's see what I can do here. So he's got kind of that compression going on his foot down there, the front of his foot. It's reaching under the thigh here. I'm going to use my friend the tornado on this a little bit, I think. Really difficult, whoops. Really difficult and tricky pose here. But fun to play with. Like, I could see spending like an hour or two playing with this pose, even in exaggerated gestural format. Oh shit, that's right, I was gonna do like a 5-minute thing for these. Well, I'd actually like to move on from this one, because I'm kind of not in the right frame of mind to really attack this properly at the moment, so we'll go to maybe a little simpler pose, but I'm going to, after this one changes, set it back to 5 minutes. There's a pretty good feeling in this pose. I could probably pick out some shapes in it and stuff, but I feel like I want to move on from it. So, 3, 2, 1. 5 minutes. There we go. Let's find some strong poses that we haven't done. So this one I'm going to see if I can have some fun with it. Let's start with the sword, actually. I think the sword is tilted down at a wrong angle from how I want to do it, though. Getting that floor grid down. I went a little autopilot-y on this one, but there is some stuff I pulled out of it that I feel pretty good about. But let's see what I can do, lowering opacity and then playing with kind of messing with it a little bit more. And some cartoon character-ish qualities out of it. Twitch chat, you guys there? Haven't seen anyone speak for a little while. I know you're here. Oh, yep. It's better that you're drawing anyway during these sessions. If you do have something to ask, you can ask it in Twitch chat or in Discord. I'll be checking both, although Twitch chat is the one I have eyes on when I'm drawing mainly. How do people feel about the new class format, by the way, where I kind of grab something from from classroom chat to do demos of?
Actually,
pretty fluid.
Yeah, I'm getting kind of like self-conscious with doing demos. Like they took a lot out of me to do, but like it feels like the way that I'm doing them, they're kind of a natural extension of the artwork that I'm trying to put in right here. And this is the way I'm drawing is very intuitive to how like I animate. So like I'm not as like there's like a lot of anatomy practice and things I struggle with that I would probably want to not necessarily teach because I am still learning that stuff and I don't feel confident about teaching it just yet. But like stuff like this, where it's like pushed exaggerated, intuitive stuff, and this is like on a path that I know is going to improve my ability to animate and my ability to break down figure drawing into gesture and get better characters and stuff. Like this feels a lot more natural to me. So it's not that hard for me to teach this way and kind of do demos this way. And I am pretty decent at like pushing and playing with gesture. So I can take people when I can try to nudge people in the direction of being a little bit more bold with how they play with their figure drawing in a way that's like very unique to me. And well, I say unique to me, but like Mike Battisti and Glenn Vilppu do it way better. Glenn Vilppu, but Glenn Keane and Mike Battisti do it way fucking better than I do. I've seen some really dumb things said about Mike Battisti too, like on I remember like one of the 4chan boards was talking about him. They think he's like a crappy imitation of Glenn Keane or something. It's like, do you have any fucking idea how much of a master Glenn is? Like, that's kind of an unfair comparison, really. And even then, Glenn is not like... Glenn will be the first to admit that he's not all that great compared to like someone who really, really knows their anatomy way better than he does. Although I think that might have changed more recently, especially judging from his more recent work. Like on the Kobe Bryant short that he did. Some interesting chatter. Can somebody who's got their eyes on the chat on the Twitch chat better than me read back to me what people are talking about right there? Somebody's some interesting things going on that I feel like I want to comment on, but I don't really have the wherewithal at the moment to do it. If someone on voice could do that for me.
There's a couple people saying hello. There's Nami who is saying that he or she hasn't been in the previous classes, just like me. But our workout feel less stressful than a lesson.
Yeah. Well, actually, this is a class. This is a class. It's just that it's a class and an art workout. Like I said that I was going to stop classes. Well, I'm going to stop classes in that format. I figured out now a better class format that's more intuitive and fits into what I'm actually trying to do and accomplish lately. So that's what we're doing today. This is the first iteration of what we're going to be doing. So you are in a class right now. It's just this is a different formatted class, and it should be less stressful because there's the way that we're approaching these figures is you don't want to be self-conscious about it. You want to have fun with it, and you want to get like your art workout in. Yeah, look at this dude again. I can definitely do stuff with it now that I'm a little bit more warmed up. But I'll hold off on that. Let's see here. Oh, it's this guy again. Let's get rid of him. There we go. That's a nice dynamic run pose. So run poses. Run poses are fun as hell. I'm gonna go slow on this one, but then I'm gonna explode into it. Like, so all that energetic drawing I did earlier, like, sure, I'm drawing like really lightly now, not as kind of like crazy, but like the way I was drawing earlier is in the back of my head now. So I'm thinking like, now I'm starting to get ramped up again a little bit. Let's shrink this guy down a bit so I can see more of it. So let's think about the anatomy, well, not really anatomy, but the forces working behind a run pose. Or a starting line pose in this case. So first off, this is a runner. This is an Olympic or sprinter, yes. He's putting a tremendous amount of force working back through his leg into that little like that heel brace sort of thing. I don't even know what it's called, but that runners use to start their run. So all the force is being compressed back here and focused back here, like the exertion of the force is going back there. You can see he's like flexing his calf, and if you can see the front of it, the top of his thigh, and the back of his, you can actually see the back of his thigh and his buttocks is also being exerted. His upper arm is his arm that's raised up right there. is there to get him to like really feel that motion. He's getting taken off, exerting the force, counterposing through his whole body, and compressing into that starting line foot. Reaching ahead with his hand, partly for balance, partly for more of that counterposing. And when that foot needs to push back, this arm needs to reach out because the two things are working against each other. I'm getting dizzy just looking at this guy. I'm thinking about the blood running through my veins, compressing and exploding from the starting line like that. So I've just been concentrating completely on the forces behind this dude, without even trying to make a good drawing out of it. So I'm going to go back through, actually with red line again. Let's see about pulling in some more distinctive shapes of the figure. But now that I've used like the gesture to kind of feel out the drawing, like this stuff is, let's pause it on this actually. We'll keep, well, I'll reset the timer on this one. We'll keep it on this one. So his hips are tilting that way. The back like the screen left buttocks is down, the screen right buttocks is up. Because he's raising his leg up. Let's get more of an arch to the back here, I think. Like when you draw a running pose or any kind of dynamic pose like this, you really want to like feel it. So we're going to spend a little bit of extra time really kind of trying to feel what's going on here. Not too concerned with anatomy. We will incorporate elements of the figure into what we're drawing, but we're not concerned with accurate anatomy here. We're concerned with feeling the drawing. I'm actually going to erase this though, because like maybe want to shrink that arm. It's making him look a little bit off balance when it's that big. See here, maybe I can push the leg more. I definitely can push the leg more. Feeling through the whole body there. And now, we'll go through and do kind of another quick rough pass, but picking on more of the shapes. So there will be passing some more. Streets against curves a little bit. Punched up curve. Okay, Google, stop.
Do you want us to put our things in the chat?
What's that?
Do you want us
Yes.
to put our gestures in the chat?
Yes. So as you can see, I didn't start with a pretty drawing, and it still isn't at the pretty drawing phase. So it's me trying to understand what's going on there. Whoops. Let's pause on that, actually. Really trying to kind of feel the gravity and the weight of what's going on. But then from something like this, I can like go back through and start picking out shapes and designing the character pose on top of it. I think I can even push this back for more. That's cool. You draw like this messy because you're trying to understand the action, and you give yourself permission to scribble and fumble around to kind of get the feeling that you want. Alright, let's take a look. Maybe I could do one more demo in the time we have left. Let's see here. What do we got? What do we got? Okay, Google, set timer 5 minutes.
Okay, 5 minutes. And that's starting now.
So let's see, there's some people that are having trouble pushing their stuff. If you don't get it, like, if you don't feel like you're getting it quite right, like pushing it, you can do what I did, where I just kept trying and trying and trying and trying and trying. Like pushing and pushing and pushing. Like messing with these like forceful shapes and stuff. Like I'm gonna go back through real quick. I'm gonna do like some cleaner stuff on this thing right here. This isn't gonna be a perfect drawing either, but this will give you a little taste of what you can kind of do, like taking these initial drawings that you do and kind of working back into them to make the gesture into like a character or something. And even here I'm staying kind of fluid and loose with what I'm doing, because I'm not really nailing down the anatomy here either. I'm still trying to let the gesture override what I'm drawing. looking all goony. Alright, let's take a look at those drawings that people have done. I got kind of lost in doing this one. I'm kind of doing a demo of my own work here right now. But we're still on break, so it's good. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I'm pretty satisfied with that so far. I mean, there's still there's a lot of problems in it, but it was a worthwhile exercise. Okay, Google, stop. Alright, let's take a look at, let's see who I can get a demo done of. First off, I'm going to save this and make a backup to make sure that none of this gets corrupted by accident, like one time with my hand poses. Let's see here. What do we got? What do we got? See if I can find someone who's pretty close but just needs a little nudge. Let's see. Oh, okay, Google, set timer for 25 minutes.
25 minutes, and we're starting now.
This will be our last session. Let's see here. Let's give you a pose. Oh, that's a nice pose. I'm actually gonna just jump right in. I'm gonna issue the demo because I don't really see any ones that really stand out to me that for someone I haven't done yet that I feel I could do a good demo in my current frame of mind right now for. So I'm just gonna jump right in and do drawings for the next 25 minutes for the rest of you. So this is a lot cleaner than the other stuff I've been doing, but it's still like rooted in the other things I'd been doing that was more scribbly. Like I feel like doing that scribbly stuff kind of helps you develop your dexterity and get warmed up to do, and warm up your hand and eye to do something where you make cleaner choices, like what I'm doing here. So it's okay to get dirty and scribbly. Then you go back to doing something that's a little bit more, less so. Although I'm starting to feel like I should get scribbly here because I really love that sand that's being kicked up there by this runner. So I think this is a Nike ad. So it's like really hyper exaggerated athletic reality going on here in the photography. I feel like I could even push the runner pose more than I have to. I think the lean forward could be more. I'm going to actually cheat this real quick and let's see, use skew to do that. I normally wouldn't do something like that, but I kind of feel like I want to try for it a bit. Oh no, that does not look good. Let's forget that actually. I'm going to do it the old-fashioned way. And see what I can do. So I did make cleaner choices on this one, but it's not as pushed as it could have been, so I'm probably going to just get messy anyway. Or just make another layer. I wonder. Let me try something real quick. No, I'll mess with that another time. I was thinking of making like the window where I don't zoom in and out, like the watch window that people see stuff on. So then there's none of this confusing zooming in and out happening. You can see the big picture of what it is I'm drawing. If I do that, it might be helpful for me to have like a little thing in the corner of showing how I'm zooming in and out along with the big picture. It's looking a little stodgy here. I think I made the legs maybe too proportionately big. That's the reason why. Let's lower opacity on this and see what I can do. I think I actually want to spend make this a 10-minute pose, so I'll reset the timer on this one. Let's get the jams back on here. Center line of the torso in there. Let's see what are other opportunities I can use to kind of push this how I want it to go. yeah, spread the word, folks. Spacedad is back. I'm going to be teaching classes, actual classes now, like this. A mix of draw over feedback and just like really balls to the wall, just dig right in there, gesture drawing, which is something that I know very well, and that we can all get a good artwork out with, and then I might even have some personal breakthroughs on over the course of doing these with you. It's like the act of digging through these poses is a very physical exercise itself. So these are classes, but they're also workouts for me as much as the rest of you. That was always the case in the past. Oh wow, I'm seeing some other things here that I should probably fix. Happening in the torso, mainly the lower torso. Let's see here. Notice I'm making the feet really, really big. It's kind of weird. Sometimes I kind of vibe with like the cartoony energy of the thing and kind of lose sight of overall proportion. I mean, it's okay if I'm exaggerating or I'm playing with exaggeration, but I'm trying to kind of like hammer this into something I like right now. So let's maybe scoot that head over. Go. Let's see here. Maybe we spend good time on like another 10 minutes for another pose. Let me find a good pose in here that would be good for 10 minutes. That one might be good. Do some sexy poses? No. No horny on main in this chat. Sorry. Donk. No horny. Let's pull off all the stops with this. She's using her arms to swing that huge curved like sword. and stuff upwards. This is a kind of a posed out pose, so I don't think she's actually like physically swinging the sword and stuff, but I'm going to kind of push that into it. Or if she is swinging the sword, she's doing it like in slow motion for like a photo shoot, as opposed to like actually swinging a real physical sword. Let's see here. I'm gonna maybe try to like build some more shape design into what's going on here. So let's see here. I'm gonna use like the Loomis skeleton hips to kind of define the tilt of the hips a little bit here. That's those two discs right there for the sides of the side planes of the pelvis. I get kind of this. Make sure you get the bend. That thigh there. Let's see if I can pull more of a cartoon character design out of this. Lower opacity on this. Shrink that a bit. So this is going to be more of a cartoon character version of this pose. Heavy foreshortening happening on that arm here. Discord server link is invalid. Which link are you clicking? The one down below? Yeah, I keep trying to generate like a, yeah, the one down below. Okay, I'll see if I can fix that. Stick around in the chat. Let's see if we can fix that before we get done here tonight. Pushing that a little bit more. Let's try to push it again. Yeah, I'll see if I can fix the Discord link. For some reason, the links to the server like expire after a while, even when I set them to not expire. It's kind of weird. Let's see if we can troubleshoot that to fix that after we get done here. Hopefully we can get it working good. So we got the start of what could be developed into a composition here. For this week's homework, I want people to either take the poses that they do here or poses that they do practice from throughout the week and push them and try making cartoon characters out of them or compositions out of them and stuff. Like, this is a rough, loose, and dirty pushed version of that pose. I might push it some more. I'd keep iterating on it, and then I'd like develop a cartoon character out of it, out of the pose. And this will be up on YouTube and also on Twitch Replay, so if you want to refer back to some of the poses that you did when you're doing the homework this week, feel free to. Yeah, this has been a very gesture-driven class, I would say. There's like a little bit of shape here and there and stuff, but this is mostly gesture for this session. Big messy gesture and pretty good artwork out, and we'll be getting more of them. Another one coming Friday. But yeah, this is like not what I would use as like anywhere near my final drawing. This is like me kind of pushing the pose and like kind of finding the action in it and stuff, and then I go back through and kind of fix things and proportions that are going on in it. So I think that's where we're gonna wrap it up. Okay, Google, stop timer.
Got it. Consider it canceled.
And yeah, so let's see here. I'm gonna try to troubleshoot that thing with the Discord link not working in Twitch. Let's see here. Well, first off, let's see, Twitch. Let's go to my panels real quick. Yeah, invite invalid, you're right. It is not working. So edit panels, and I'll have to update that invite link. Hopefully it'll work this time. So invite people. Alright, so copy paste that into Discord into the Twitch chat. Alright, so I'm gonna submit. Now refresh let's see, stop editing the panels. Now refresh your browser window and try clicking the Discord tab. Yeah, it says Discord app launched for me. So for those paying attention, this is what I want for the homework, basically, that's on screen right now. Yeah, good. Other people in chat, try testing to see if the Discord invite link works. But yeah, for those paying attention, this is what I want, basically, for the homework this week. Except, like, you can color it up or whatever and do cleaner lines on it if you like. I'm fine with it being like about this rough and loose too. But I want to see you like make characters out of some of your gesture drawings. So I'll be uploading these later to my Patreon also. Let's see here. I think this is my favorite drawing of this evening because this is like a feature complete version of like an approach to gesture right here. Like the feeling of weight and understanding is in there pretty much. Like I didn't get distracted with other stupid shit. This one, like, I understand what I'm looking at in terms of like what I would be able to do with this next for like animating or posing or something. So I think this is my favorite drawing of today. I actually kind of like some of the demos too. Taking somebody else's work and then pushing it is usually a good way to get some good results. So yeah, if anyone wants to stick around, I can play it. Well, maybe not tonight, but in the future, I want to like after our sessions, I may want to close out with like playing some video games or something. But here's some of the stuff I was doing earlier today for warm-ups, like a lot more kind of shape-oriented stuff. This is all figure invention that I was doing, kind of constructing the shapes and so on, playing with it. So I might go back to this some more for my construction or whatever. I'm trying to like gradually marry the two more and more, like my structure and my gesture, and get better at both. Yeah, these figures are all invented poses and stuff. That's not though. Yeah, those are the warm-ups I did, I think. No, that's part of one of our earlier sessions. Okay. So this giant-ass file, including my warm-ups that I did today. This if you want the files in here, will be on my Patreon. For $1 you can get the high quality images, and for $5 Patreon subscription you can get the whole PSD file that I'm gonna upload for the $5 subs. I should also put some of the best of these for my blog in lower quality image format though. Like, I really should start updating my main blog or posting some of these to my Twitter. This is a fairly successful page. I don't like that leg though. Yeah, so I've got more work to do on the game project tomorrow, but now I'm good and loosened up for more expressive posing and stuff. I'm gonna have to dial it in tomorrow a little bit though, because I've got more structured kind of stuff to do. In addition to animation posing. What?
When is the homework due?
Next week.
Alright.
Yeah. I'll take a look at it during class too. Just you can post it in my class channel, and I might take a look at it throughout the week. But the main time that I'll take a look at it and do demos of it will be like during class next week. Like, I'll be doing a mix of live demos of stuff that people are doing in class and draw-overs of people's homework. If anyone from my game project is participating today, though, like for you, you can do the homework if you like, but I would recommend also maybe like using the homework to do stuff for the game project, like character explorations and character and creature explorations and stuff. That's sort of the point of what I was doing tonight, actually. Like, this is this is like kind of warm up for tomorrow, and some of the poses in here I may actually wind up using for like some of the things I'm planning on doing. But we'll see. Anyway, I'm gonna wrap it up here. Congratulations. You guys made it to the end. 24 viewers on Twitch. You guys made it to the end. Let's see here.
Congratulations. Thank you all.